Chapter 3. The Fractured Reality. James Monroe sat on the edge of his bed, staring blankly at the wall of his modest apartment. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting long, eerie shadows across the room. His mind was in turmoil, battling to comprehend the bizarre turn his life had taken. Just yesterday, he had been on a ranch, living a life that spanned decades. The smell of hay, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of friends, all so vivid, so achingly real. And now he was back here, in this familiar yet alien reality. He rubbed his temples, trying to shake off the lingering fragments of his dream life. How could it have been just a dream? It felt like he had lived an entire lifetime there. His hands trembled as he reached for his phone, scrolling aimlessly through messages and emails. None of it seemed to matter anymore. He had to know what was happening to him. Work was impossible. The lines of code on his screen blurred together, meaningless and incomprehensible. His mind kept drifting back to the ranch, to the people he missed like a phantom limb. By noon, he could take no more. He told his boss he was feeling unwell and left the office, his thoughts racing with questions and uncertainties. James found himself at the clinic, desperately seeking answers. He explained his situation to the doctor, who listened with a skeptical yet concerned expression. A series of tests followed, blood work, brain scans, and neurological exams, but everything came back normal. Physically, he was perfectly healthy. "There's nothing wrong with you that we can find," the doctor said, his tone gentle but firm. "I think it might be best if you spoke to someone. A psychiatrist, perhaps." James nodded numbly, accepting the referral. The next few days passed in a haze as he tried to grapple with the reality that his mind, not his body, might be the problem. He felt like he was losing his grip on what was real. The ranch, and the people he loved there, had felt more authentic than anything he had ever experienced in his waking life. The sessions with the psychiatrist were grueling. They delved into his past, his fears, his deepest anxieties. Bit by bit, James began to piece together his fractured reality. He learned to distinguish between the dream world and his real life, though the process was slow and excruciating. The pain of letting go of the life he had known on the ranch was almost unbearable. It was like mourning a life that had never existed, yet felt more real than anything he had ever known. Months went by, and James gradually began to find his footing again. The dreams became less frequent, and he started to rebuild his life in California. He reconnected with friends, found joy in small things, and threw himself into his work. But the memory of the ranch, the life he had lived there, never completely faded. It lingered at the edges of his mind, a shadow of what had been, or what he believed had been. One night, as the city lights flickered outside his window, James felt an unusual heaviness settle over him. His eyelids drooped, and he fell into a deep, dreamless sleep, or so he thought. He awoke with a start, his senses assaulted by the acrid smell of smoke and the deafening roar of explosions. His body was cold, and he realized he was lying in mud. Disoriented, he looked around and saw the chaos of a battlefield unfolding before him. Soldiers in tattered uniforms scrambled through the trenches, their faces etched with fear and determination. James's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to make sense of his surroundings. The noise was overwhelming: shouts, gunfire, the distant rumble of artillery. He felt a searing pain in his leg and looked down to see blood seeping through his trousers. "What is happening?" he muttered, his voice barely audible over the din. A soldier nearby grabbed him by the shoulder, shaking him roughly. "Get it together, man. We're under attack." James stared at the soldier, his mind reeling. This was no dream. The cold, the pain, the fear, it was all too real. He had no idea where he was or how he had gotten there, but one thing was certain: he was in the midst of a war, and survival was the only thing that mattered. As the chaos raged around him, James took a deep breath, bracing himself for whatever came next. His journey was far from over.